What are the primary responsibilities of the European Court of Justice, ECJ, in the context of data protection law? A. To enforce GDPR provisions directly. B. To interpret EU law and provide preliminary rulings. C. To adjudicate national data protection laws. D. To supervise member states. Correct answer: B. To interpret EU law and provide preliminary rulings. Explanation: the ECJ is tasked with interpreting EU law and providing preliminary rulings on cases related to data protection that arise in national courts, ensuring the consistent application of EU law across member states. What is the primary distinction between the GDPR and the e-Privacy Directive regarding the scope of data processing? A. The e-Privacy Directive deals primarily with electronic communications, while the GDPR governs all personal data processing. B. The GDPR applies solely to EU member states, while the e-Privacy Directive has a global scope. C. The GDPR and e-Privacy Directive do not interact. D. The GDPR mandates stricter security measures. Correct answer: A. The e-Privacy Directive deals primarily with electronic communications, while the GDPR governs all personal data processing. Explanation: the e-Privacy Directive governs electronic communications, particularly concerning marketing, cookies, and security breaches, while the GDPR applies to all personal data processing. How does the GDPR's legitimate interest test differ from consent as a lawful ground for processing? A. Legitimate interests require explicit agreement from data subjects. B. Consent necessitates balancing interests between controller and data subject. C. Legitimate interests require a balancing test between controller and data subject. D. Consent is easier to obtain than legitimate interests. Correct answer: C. Legitimate interests require a balancing test between controller and data subject. Explanation: the legitimate interest test requires balancing the interests of the controller or third party against those of the data subject, while consent relies on explicit agreement. How does the GDPR address special categories of data concerning children? A. It prohibits processing entirely. B. It permits processing only with explicit consent from parents or guardians. C. It allows processing for specific purposes with additional safeguards. D. It mandates encryption for all data processing. Correct answer: C. It allows processing for specific purposes with additional safeguards. Explanation: the GDPR permits processing special categories of data concerning children for specific purposes, provided additional safeguards, such as parental consent or institutional oversight, are implemented. What mechanism does the GDPR establish to facilitate cooperation between EU member state supervisory authorities in data protection? A. The one-stop shop mechanism. B. National supervisory forums. C. Cross-border data committees. D. Regional cooperation panels. Correct answer: A. The one-stop shop mechanism. Explanation: the GDPR's one-stop shop mechanism enables cooperation and coordination between supervisory authorities across member states, ensuring efficient handling of data protection matters. How does the GDPR handle compatibility in data processing principles? A. It permits processing for any purpose. B. It mandates a compatibility test for further processing. C. It restricts processing to specified purposes. D. It prohibits secondary uses entirely. Correct answer: B. It mandates a compatibility test for further processing. Explanation: the GDPR requires a compatibility test for further processing, considering factors such as the link between purposes, the nature of the data, and potential consequences of secondary uses. What role does the European Data Protection Board, EDPB, play in relation to GDPR guidance? A. It develops and enforces GDPR amendments. B. It provides recommendations and oversees consistency. C. It supervises national data protection authorities. D. It endorses GDPR implementation measures. Correct answer: B. It provides recommendations and oversees consistency. Explanation: the EDPB provides guidance and ensures consistent application of GDPR across member states, endorsing WP29 guidelines and addressing interpretation questions. What specific safeguards does the GDPR mandate for cross-border data transfers to third countries? A. Encryption of all transferred data. B. Individual data protection contracts. C. Adequate jurisdictions or safeguards like standard contractual clauses. D. Member state approval for each transfer. Correct answer: C. Adequate jurisdictions or safeguards like standard contractual clauses. Explanation: The GDPR mandates that transfers to third countries occur to jurisdictions deemed adequate or with safeguards such as standard contractual clauses, ensuring data protection consistency. How does the GDPR ensure data breaches are managed and reported effectively? It mandates immediate notification to supervisory authorities. B. It requires controllers to manage breaches and notify supervisory authorities within 72 hours. C. It requires public disclosure of all breaches. D. It mandates fines for breaches. Correct answer. B. It requires controllers to manage breaches and notify supervisory authorities within 72 hours. Explanation. The GDPR mandates controllers manage data breaches and notify supervisory authorities within 72 hours, ensuring timely response and minimizing harm to data subjects. How does the GDPR address the security of personal data in processing activities? A. It mandates encryption for all personal data. B. It requires appropriate technical and organizational measures. C. It restricts data processing. D. It mandates periodic audits. Correct answer. B. It requires appropriate technical and organizational measures. Explanation. The GDPR mandates controllers and processors implement appropriate technical and organizational measures to secure personal data, ensuring compliance and protection against breaches.